I guess as far back as I can date this would be November 13th, 2006. It was the day we buried my grandfather up in northern Alberta, Canada, and I remember getting a sharp stabbing pain right over here on my left side, and it was so intense that I was, huddled up, curled up in a ball. It was hard because, on one hand, I'm, the lead pallbearer, and I got to do all this. The second, it's killing me because it's so much pain. I went for about 6 weeks till I was diagnosed, which was, Christmas Eve. But before I was diagnosed, it was about, 9:30, 10 o'clock on the 23rd, and at this point my sister and my mom had just become so fed up with me, not helping wrap presents or not helping decorate the tree or taking part in the board games. They got upset about it, and they thought that, I was just being lazy and not doing anything, and I'm like, well, this is what's going on. I don't feel good. And at 10 o'clock, 10:30 that night, on the 23rd, they came to me and said, look, we're either going to call you an ambulance or we're going to take you in ourselves. But we're getting worried about you now because now we're thinking, something's really wrong. So I said, sure, I don't want to cause a scene. Let's just drive down ourselves. So, we drove down to Kelowna General Hospital. They admitted me instantly because I broke a huge fever, on the way down. And they said, we need to get him back right away. We need to calm down this fever and take some blood work. At this point, this is the first blood draw I had taken because prior to this, my dad was consistently saying, get your blood work done, get your blood work done, get your blood work done. Didn't do it until that night. They did 3 different blood draws on me. And I guess, I didn't know this, but I guess it progressively got worse each blood draw. So about 2-something in the morning, the doctor Christmas Eve morning, come in and said, blah, 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 white cells this, T cells this, hemoglobin this, red cells this, just reeled everything off. Leukemia, and then said a bunch of other stuff. I'm like, what's leukemia? Knowing what it was, I just didn't, if that makes sense. So that was probably the earliest I can, go back with that. But within that 2 years, drug addiction was in play, hip replacement was in play. It starts off, Christmas Eve when I got to Vancouver, before I even got through the front door, I just had a hip biopsy. I remember the doctor had a thick Scottish accent. He's like, okay, you're gonna feel a little pressure, and the next thing I know, it felt like every nerve in my right leg was about to, was just being swollen up and exploding. The spinal taps, those are pretty gnarly. Those were the worst. I remember telling the doctors, when it comes up to me getting the spinal tap, don't tell me. Just bring me there, do it, And then I quickly caught on to the term LPs, lumbar punctures, and yeah, you got an LP tomorrow. I was like, awesome, that's great. I didn't really want to know it, but at least I can know a bit better about what's going on there. But the pain after was horrendous. If it was one spinal tap in that session, maybe about 5 or 6 days of not walking. But the time I got the two spinal taps done in one day, and they wanted to do a third, I couldn't walk for like 2.5 weeks after, and that was the last time I did 2 in one sitting. It was just too much. And then, we came to the point too where they said that I needed a bone marrow transplant because everything was shot in me. And it was the whole, you're a 1 in a million, we don't know if we can find a match for you. If we do, you're gonna be very lucky, and just, expect the worst but pray for the best kind of scenario. And so 6-7 weeks went by after that, and they said, well, not only did we find you the one perfect match, we actually found you 2. So now it comes down to choosing your blood type. And I said, well, what are they? I can't remember the first one, but the second was B positive. And I was saying, well, you know what? I need a B positive through this, so I'll go for that one. So that's kind of how that all kind of worked out at the beginning. The radiation, it wasn't so much that it was pain, because for me there was none. It was more mental, knowing that this light going over top of my body, front and back, is destroying everything in me. That's more what it was for me, was mental. The chemo as well, the first round I did, it wasn't that bad, but I guess, it wasn't strong enough, so they had to give me something even stronger, and then it was my second dose into the second round that I really got sick, and then from there it's just kind of when it went down for me, and when I really kind of had the cancer body, if you will, and cytotoxic, gotta go to the bathroom, gotta have like a team of cleaners come in and clean the bathroom after, it was crazy, because I wasn't expecting that, having guys dressed up in, those outbreak suits, it just messed with me a lot. That right there in itself was probably the worst thing for me, was the prednisone. Essentially, it shut down my body's natural defense to fight off, colds and all that. My body's not relying on the prednisone, so that kind of messed me up in that area. But where it really messed me up was my skeletal system, because I've got this offset disease called avascular necrosis, and it's the deadening of all the joints, which is why I've had the shoulder replaced, why I need to get this one replaced, why I've had them replaced. And with my hips, it was just a simple deadening of the joint. When the doctors took out my hips, the one doctor up in Canada was like, it crumbled like an egg in his hand. It was that dead. Same situation with my left hip, and bone spurs up here on my shoulder, and over here, same deal. I'm not sure what's going on down here, my knees or ankles, but I just know it's painful. It was brutal. I couldn't stand up, I couldn't walk, I couldn't sit down, I couldn't sleep, I couldn't lie down, I couldn't do nothing. Like a normal person's pain threshold of 10 is probably my 4, like I'm on a different pain level here. So at this point I was at like an 8, 9, or 10, like way up there. It was horrible, like there was just nothing I could do. I'm in a wheelchair, I can't move, I can't walk, I'm in pain constantly. And the hip got a bit better, but then, the addiction was still there, still going strong. That right there to me was the most detrimental thing in the world, was being hooked on these opiates. I never knew if I was in pain, or if I was in pain, if that was a true pain, because it just all messed with me. So that was pretty tough in itself. And then come to find out that a few months down the road that, oh, guess what, you need your shoulder replaced now. So it's like, okay, awesome, let's get it done, let's get this fixed. My life just kind of spiraled out of control when I was told I had kidney disease. If you're not feeling good physically, you're not going to be feeling good mentally. Later on, when the pain got a bit better, the depression was still there. Well, I've been a patient of yours since August 2009, and it was, really slow progression for me, because it's just my body. First off, it was mostly the psychological help that really helped me. Nobody can help me if I can't help myself. So after, I at first met you in August, I went in September and gotten my hip replaced, and it was good, because I remember within an hour of waking up from the surgery, they got me up and had me walking around. There was no sitting down. There was just, like they'd done the first time, it was just get it done, get out, and that was it, figure it out yourself. The simplest things like the Intramax, or the Power Food, or micronutrients, the IV, the vitamins, the B shots I get, Doing yoga now, I took my first few strides running the other day, and I never thought I'd be able to run again, because for the longest time it was like, I felt like there was a brain for my legs and then a brain for my head, and it was just, they weren't working together. I'm just trying to work up again so I can go snowboarding again, because I haven't done that since, and that's all I want to do, is go back up into the mountains, go snowboarding again, run. So I used to be, really, I like to, do a lot of athletic training stuff, rugby, hockey, cross-country training, those were what I love to do. Where I am today is probably where I was back, when I was athletic. Minus a few details, but I feel like that right now. The mental end has been the biggest thing for me, because I had a lot of issues coming into this, that I never dealt with, and a lot of past issues that I had never dealt with at all, and my awareness of my spirituality, because that was dark for a long time. The holistic approach to what I'm doing right now, the integrative approach to this, by far is probably the best thing I could have done. The intravenous stuff you've done, the mental stuff you've done, I think that's just the talking. Everything, it's not just like, come in, get a prescription, you're done. It's everything, It's like getting overhauled, and for the better. So that's what I found here. I've had this saying, any day above ground is a good one, That's just the way I look at life, and right now everything else is just absolute, cherry on the cake.